Media.
8:20 exactly. This is News and Views right here on Salam Media, and we're now going to be talking about a great man. Sadly, he's no longer with us. The late Dr. Abu Bakr Asvat was born and raised in Fitas, Johannesburg, and he went on to Lahore in Pakistan, where he studied medicine. He was with his brother Ibrahim, and it was in Pakistan where he founded the Azania Youth Movement, an organization that was affiliated to the Pan Africanist Congress of Azania. He hosted its PAC members while they were on the way to visit China, where they had a close relationship with the state. On his return to South Africa, Dr. Abu Bakr Asvat worked at the Coronation Hospital in Johannesburg, now known as Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital. After the trade unionist and activist of the Transvaal Indian Congress and the ANC, he worked under Yusuf Joe Variava. And if memory serves me correctly, I think Yusuf went on to become an eminent professor. However, Asvat was soon fired with less than a day's notice after confronting racism at the hospital. His brother supported him as he opened his own practice in Rockville, Soweto, across from Regina Moody Church. There, he treated large numbers of patients up to 100 a day at no cost. It was said that if you were broke or broken and needed medical care, you should make your way to Dr. Asfat's surgery. And that is the legacy that he's left behind, a true loss to our community. Strike Thokoane, president of Azapo. Good morning, welcome to the program. And you are here to talk to us about this great forgotten revolutionary.
Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners of the station. Thank you very much for hosting me.
Why has, I understand that the order of Luthuli in silver is to be bestowed on the late Abu Bakr Asvat, known as the People's Doctor. It's come kind of rather late, has it not? What is the reason for that?
Maybe let me start by adding another detail that you never mentioned on the struggle accolades of Dr. Abu Bakr Asvat. Besides him being a fine cricketer and a leading member of the association, he was, during his days, a Secretary of Health for the Azanian People's Organization. In other words, he served in the executive of Azapo as Secretary for Health and was very instrumental in bringing lots of cadres into the organization and helping them. The question you have just posed about the order that comes belatedly is the fact that a few weeks ago we've just buried the wife of Dr. Asvat, Zora.
That's right,
And,
yes. Our condolences to the family, obviously.
And condolences to the family. And one says, had this thing just come before, so that Asfat's widow could also have enjoyed it, if that's the word to use, to say this is what the country has done to you or the government has done to you. You can't kick it away. We say we don't kick a present gifted horse in the teeth. But you can't kick it away when it is given. Regrettably, it just comes a little later. Let's hope that the children will find solace in the fact that at long last, something for their father. Because,
recognition
when you
for
are
his
children,
work, for his
recognition,
dedication to
yes,
the country
yes,
and to Azapo.
yes.
But obviously, there must, we're hearing things like there are other more complex reasons for him not being recognized for this award. One of those being, and this is a very widely believed thinking by many people who were activists in the late 80s, that he was murdered on the order of Winnie Mandela in 1989. And this had made it very awkward for the ANC to honor the late Dr. Abu Bakr Asvat, as well as those in the younger generation whose veneration for Mandela has often chosen to ignore a set of very inconvenient facts.
That is true. We were thought that would be somewhat awkward for the government, for the ANC government, to honor Abu Asvat in particular. But remember that the ANC government and the ANC, they don't honor those who are not in their register, like Tsietsi Mashinini, like Onkgopo Tiro. They are forced to honor Steve Biko. They are not honoring Mapeta Mohapi and a host of other struggle heroes of the day. But I also want to say that organizations honor their people, like Azapo. There is a Asvat Institute, year in, year out, without fail, around February. They do hold memorial services, they do hold lectures, they do honor Asvat, but they are not in the state. They do this in conjointly with Azapo, but they are not in the state. They don't have the state resources. So even when that is done, the media also is hesitant to pick it up. Remember, there is a street between Soweto and Nazia that Azapo fought, and the institute fought that it should be renamed Abu Asvat Road, linking the poor of the poorest, Protea Soweto, with Linazia. And that's the road he used from home to the surgery. And we said this must be mentioned. But the media never picked it up around that type of Asvat. And fortunately, there you are. You have picked it up. You are mentioning Asvat. But it is a hero that is not only honored in 1 year. It is a hero that every year activities, children at school must be taught. But of course, you have mentioned it, that the issue of Stompy with Winnie has actually made, I think, the ruling party to be shy of honoring Asvat. But
absolutely.
It has come
let me
belatedly.
Ask you this question.
Yes.
Sorry for the interruption. Obviously, when we leave out such important narratives from our history, it distorts the way our younger generation views the struggle and obviously being emancipated from the shackles of apartheid. How is it that, what is Azapo and other parties going to do, coming together with ANC and make certain that history is told in the right context, that it's not shaded in any way, it's not distorted in any way, that our future generations get the true picture of the true freedom fighters of our country?
It is said that those who are in power only talk about their history, during the time of the oppression and apartheid occupied Azania, the power, the nationalist power and the white power structure that was running the country at the time wanted to tell us about the history of their own people and heroes. Now the ANC is in charge. It's not in power. It is in charge. And it just wants only to talk about the heroes and heroines of the African National Congress. Now, when you look at the history books, doesn't matter how many books you write. There are people who write. They will never be prescribed. The book of Dr. Asvat, for instance, will never be prescribed for history students. They will want to only mention, and I don't have to mention names, those who are in their register. But what Azapo and the other struggle-loving people must continue to do is to tell out the red books, give stories, do interviews, continue to peddle the right history of our country. And in time, there will be young people, there will be people, historians, who will pick up this and tell it to the others. And one day, when the true liberation of our country comes about, it will be known the people who actually put down their lives, who sacrificed. Now, the last thing that we had hoped as Azapo during the time of apartheid that we were going to experience, you see, we were prepared to die in the hands of the Burus, the oppressors. One thing we're not prepared for was to die in the hands of our Esquire brothers and sisters in the struggle. And this is what has happened. Asvat died in the hands of our brothers and sisters. Not only Asvat, many young people died in the hands of the ANC. Our houses were burned. If you go to the Eastern Cape, if you go to Gauteng and Azanian and other places, you go to Limpopo, all over the country, you are going to find Azapo people who died in the hands of what they call the UDF, which was a connection.
Okay, Strike. We're going to have to leave it there. In closing, we do know that President Cyril Ramaphosa will confer the Order of Luthuli in silver on the late Abu Baker Asvat, known as the People's Doctor. This is going to happen sometime in November, and I presume it will be handed over to his son, Akil, who is also a medical practitioner. He is an ophthalmologist. From what I hear, equally humble as his dad and serving in service of the people like his dad was. The one thing that you do, and very quickly, the one thing that you do remember of the late Dr. Abu Baker Asvat before we wrap up.
Sacrifice. Service, sacrifice. There are people who were just arrested and killed in detention for their part. Asvat can be remembered for the service he rendered to the poor people. That's why he was referred to as the people's doctor. When he was buried, he was buried on ox wagon by the ordinary people who recognized him. And what more recognition do you want than to be recognized by the poor and the poorest of this country?
What a man and what a legacy he's left behind. We are all the more poorer on his passing, but thank you indeed as president of Azapo for sharing these memories with us, and that he is finally being recognized by the very government that sadly had him killed. Thank you for your time. Go well and all the very best. It is exactly 8:35. That was President Strike Thokoane, president of the Azanian People's Organization, talking about the people's doctor, the late Dr. Abu Baker Asvat.
Durban, KwaZulu.